It's 5 o'clock and time for Wiregrass Strong. The new coronavirus epidemic is a big problem that's expected to become bigger in the weeks and months to come. For those who are infected as well as those trying to avoid infection, these are trying times. But amid all the doom and gloom, there are some positive stories, positive messages, and reasons to remain hopeful. So every afternoon at this time, your Wiregrass Radio family of stations will come together while staying apart to help you stay informed. We're going to be seeking your input. If you're a business impacted by the virus, call and let the Wiregrass know what you are doing to continue safely providing your services or goods. And if you're a parent working hard to take care of your family, we'd love to hear how you are coping. Remember, only the facts, no hearsay or rumors, and we're trying to keep things positive. Our number is 334-699-1053, or you can join us on YouTube Live, and you can chat throughout the program. And welcome to Wiregrass Strong for a Thursday afternoon. I gave up counting the days. I don't know how many days we are into coronavirus, and nor do
too many.
Yeah, too many. Nor do I really care. This half hour is brought to you as a public service, and we're going to get to that, Cameron. This half hour is brought to you as a public service of Knight's Wrecker Service, big or small, they do it all. 899-3257. Locations in Ashford, Dothan, and Headland to get to you really fast if you need them. 899-3257 Knight's Wrecker. We're broadcasting live on all four of our properties: WESP, WECB, and WJRL Dothan, WBBK Blakely Dothan. We're also streaming live on Facebook at B1053, and we are on YouTube, the Wiregrass Radio channel on YouTube. Simply type Wiregrass Radio on YouTube, and you'll find our channel. You can click on the link right there. We're going to get right to it today. On our panel is Dave Wash Your Dang Hands Gilligan.
Hey, everybody.
From Dothan, somewhere in Dothan.
Yeah.
And
hiding out in the man cave.
In the man cave. From points unknown, Squirrel. Rock out the hand sanitizer from Rock 100.5 in Dothan, Squirrel. So patriotic this afternoon.
Awesome.
Always. Hey, good afternoon, everybody.
Hey.
Everyone's doing well.
And on our panel today is Dr. Cameron Powe with Child and Family Services and the Learning Center. Dr. Cameron, how you doing today?
I'm good. How about y'all?
Doing great. Glad you're with us this afternoon.
I'm glad to be here.
Doing very well. Thank you.
We have been reaching out to our community of businesses and services throughout the past several weeks and bringing you Wiregrass Strong every afternoon at 5 o'clock. And we've interviewed a lot of great folks, and we've touched on a lot of great topics that are of need and of interest to folks, and information that you sorely need. We've reached out to the spiritual side. We've talked about the business side, the city side, the county side, the medical side. And today we're proud to have Dr. Cameron Powe with us, because we all deal with anxieties, and we all deal with the stress that not only the fear of COVID-19, the distancing from our friends, and a lot of us distancing from our family as opposed to our most immediate family. But those things cause anxieties. I know they do with me, and I deal with it every single day. And so we're going to touch on some of those topics today. And I did reach out to Dave, and I said, Dave, I'm really busy today. I've got a couple irons in the fire. Could you find us a great guest who may speak to the mental health and the emotional side of this COVID-19 pandemic that we're going through? And Dave did so.
Well, I did it with help. I've got good friends that Dr. Powe knows as well. And it's all part of this great Wiregrass community, Ricky. We talk about it just about every afternoon during Wiregrass Strong, and how awesome the Wiregrass is. We've got such a wealth of resources in the people that call the Wiregrass their home, and I'm just tickled that Dr. Powe agreed to be with us this afternoon.
All right. Why don't you go ahead and start the questioning, Dave? I know you got some questions
I
in
do.
mind.
First of all, why don't you tell everybody exactly what it is that you do when it's not COVID-19 season?
Yes. So Child and Family in the Learning Center is a dual practice. We have the mental health side, which covers counseling services as well as assessments. The assessment process takes a look at whether or not a child or an adult is going through experiences that might need to be diagnosed and creating a treatment plan for them. So these are things like autism, ADHD, learning difficulties, depression, anxiety, conduct issues, all sorts. And then we transfer to the counseling side where we provide therapy services for these children as well as adults and their families. We also have occupational therapy services here, working with kids on handwriting skills as well as fine motor issues. We have speech therapy services, and we also have the Learning Center, which works with children to address study skill issues as well as just regular struggling in certain classes, helping them with tutoring. And then they also have a built-in school here as well. So.
Wow. See, so there I've done my due diligence, Ricky. I knocked it out of the park. I got the right person for the job today. That's what it sounds like to me.
And you're talking to 3 disc jockeys, so speech therapy is something we can
That's right. Well, my question, Dr. Powe, is I have a 17-year-old senior in high school here in Dothan, Alabama, and I've noticed the heartbreak. I can see it on his face. I mean, this is his senior year. This is the year that it was all supposed to be magic and dances and parties and football games and being with your friends and kind of saying that last goodbye before everybody took off and did their thing. And sure, they've got the video game outlets, but they can't go, shoot hoops, for example, anymore. They can't just go hang out like they did. And how as a parent do you alleviate that kind of stress and tension in a teenager who's already starting to make up his own mind, maybe a little headstrong,
Well, what a lot of parents are trying to do right now is to encourage online hangouts. So things like setting up a certain time where all of your friends get online through Skype or FaceTime. And we've noticed a growth, an increase in social media that has the video aspect. So trading TikTok videos back and forth, things like that. But scheduling those things as much as possible, encouraging those things as much as possible to help him, understandably sad about missing out on all of these things, but to help him kind of get through this time.
I like that you mentioned a schedule. I think routine is something that all of us, not just our kids, but all of us might lose sight of because our routines are so radically changed. I'm glad you brought that out. How important is routine, not just for kids, but just for families and people in general?
We're finding that it's a very important aspect. So as much as possible, sticking to what would have been your normal routine prior to social or quarantining or social isolation or quarantining. So getting out of bed at the same time, putting on your work clothes, even if you're not having to go to work or you're working from home, sticking to that regular schedule will help your mind and body kind of process this change a little bit easier.
I see. That makes a whole lot of sense. Have you encountered some unusual stresses in kids in that teenage years that COVID-19 or this our reaction, I should say, to COVID-19 are bringing out that we need to keep our eyes open for? Maybe some abnormal behavior that could, be helpful to parents.
Right. Well, a lot of people in general, not just kids and teenagers, are becoming very restless during this time. It's a very kind of keyed up anxiety, so not knowing what to do with our time because we have so much of it now where we're stuck at home. And so that anxiety and restlessness feeling can kind of manifest as aggression in some kids, some teenagers, some adults. It can manifest as pure anxiety, worrying about what's going to happen, what are we going to do, all of those things. Or it can manifest as simply kind of depressive states, not being able to get out of bed, feeling really lethargic and tired. So all of the above really are things to keep an eye out for.
That's good.
I know that dealing with folks working remotely, part of my task is to reach out to them and try to encourage them, like you said, to keep a daily routine, because we'll fall into a routine of dragging around, not having the motivation, and certainly you can fall into a pit with that. Younger children, I do know that Squirrel has younger children. Squirrel, how are you dealing with this when you are with your children?
Yeah, absolutely. My children are younger than Dave's. I am younger than Dave too, by the way. I'm just throwing that out there. But my daughter, here's an example I want to use, and how kids are thinking, I guess. She's 7 years old. A couple of weeks ago, she had a fever, 102.2. Getting everything together, trying to figure everything out, right? And I turn around and she's crying. And she says, Daddy, I'm scared. I said, why are you scared? She says, am I going to die? Now, we don't sit there and talk about COVID-19 a lot at the house. We don't sit there and just talk about COVID-19 dwelling over and over and over and over again. She got that from everything that's going on around her. And here's the thing. I had to reassure her, of course. It turned out, thank God, she had a baby tooth abscess, and that was pulled out, and everything's fine, and she's completely healed from it, and everything turned out good on that. But kids are inundated with all this stuff that's around them. How shouldn't we talk to our kids about this, right? And absolutely sit down with them.
Yes, and the vocabulary that you use will change depending on how old your child is, but definitely talking to kids about what's going on and what it means for their day-to-day life and how it's going to change, to kind of reassure them that, yes, these things are changing rapidly, but, here is what we are doing to help address the situation. This is why we're not having birthday parties, or we're not going to visit grandma, or here's why we're washing our hands more often, or here's why we're wearing masks when we go out in public, to show them that, yes, these things are happening, but we are trying to address the situation and they are as safe as we can possibly make them.
Right, absolutely. So we shouldn't just assume that our kids are dealing with it if we don't talk to them about it, because they're hearing about it, and they might have some silent issues that they're not talking about.
Mm-hmm.
They are definitely hearing about it.
I had no idea they were thinking about it until I took her temperature and read her temperature, and it triggered. She knew temperature. She knew in her own head. She's hearing temperature. Oh, death.
Definitely.
So, Dr. Powe, I've just got to ask now. Sometimes it's hard to broach those subjects with kids. It really doesn't matter what age they are. Sometimes just breaking into that conversation can be difficult. Do you have any good openers?
Yeah, so one of the methods that we use, it's kind of called the throwing the stone method. So sometimes when you throw a stone into a pond, it sinks down to the bottom immediately, no ripples. But sometimes there are lots of ripples. So you just kind of toss it out there, Hey, I was wondering, do you have any questions about COVID-19 or what's going on? And sometimes they'll say, yes, I do. And here's what I want to know. And that opens up the discussion. Sometimes it's, no, I'm all good. So just
That's
kind of
scary.
tossing it out there. Yeah.
That is scary.
When they say no, I'm good. Yeah, well, when they say no, I'm good, you don't just stop. You really kind of got to follow through from that point. Okay, well, so what do you know? Tell me what you know, and I'll tell you what I know.
You can ask them. You can definitely follow up with that and say, okay, well, what have you learned? And if they are very well informed, then there you go. If they're not, which let's be honest, sometimes they're not, because they are getting their information through social media and through friends and the rumor mill.
Sure.
Then you can, educate them. Well, here's what we know from these respectable sources.
I like that approach. It's clean, it's simple, and you don't have to pretty anything up if you just break it down to what it is, right?
Exactly. And like I said, it doesn't have to be an in-depth explanation. It can be very simple, especially if you're talking to younger kids. Whereas for teenagers, you might get a little bit more complicated.
I'd like to remind you this half hour is brought to you as a public service of Knight's Wrecker Service. Big or small, they do it all. 899-3257, Ashford, Dothan, and Headland. You can count on Knight's Wrecker Service. Our guest this afternoon, Dr. Cameron Powe with Child and Family Services and the Learning Center. We're streaming live on Facebook at B1053 on Facebook and on YouTube at Wiregrass Radio, the channel Wiregrass Radio. Any questions you might have, you can call us at 699-1053, questions for Dr. Cameron Powe, or you can text them or chat right there in the comment section of the Facebook Live or the YouTube Live as well. I have a question about your business side of it right now. Not really the business side, the interaction. Are you turning to more of the technology to have telemedicine, or are you still having some face-to-face sessions with your patients?
We are still having some face-to-face sessions. We have gone to a largely telehealth service. However, there are just some clients that we cannot do telehealth with. But that being said, most of our clinicians have gone to primarily telehealth only. We can even see new patients through telehealth, which is just amazing. We can also do the occupational therapy and the speech therapy through telehealth services as well. And the Learning Center has gone to Zoom tutoring sessions. So we have fully embraced the telehealth side of things. But we still do see some patients in person.
That's awesome.
Can you do anything about Dave's camera? Can you do anything about
Unfortunately, no.
Hey, I'd like to flip the coin.
Yeah.
Ricky, while we've got Dr. Powe with us.
All right.
We've been talking about how parents dealing with their children, but I'm a parent and I'm suffering from some anxiety. Ricky mentioned earlier that he's suffering from anxiety, and we both have kids and families that we have to coexist with. What's the deal? What can I do?
Well, there are a lot of things that you can do, and that's one of the things that we've been noticing is that there's a rise in anxiety and depression rates right now. So sticking with your day-to-day routine is the big one. Having different tasks that you can do throughout the day, avoiding overexposure to social media or aspects of media that concentrate on COVID-19 and the virus is another big one. And then making sure that you are reaching out to friends and to family through messaging services, through video services, that you still have that communication and contact there so that you can talk about these feelings. Because if you're feeling it, others are feeling it as well.
Yeah, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
We did the first family meeting. We did the first family meeting this past Sunday. My siblings and I. Unfortunately and sadly, my mother passed away right at the beginning of this, about a month and a half ago. And we were able to gather at the funeral. But after that, immediately everything went south. We could no longer get together. We couldn't meet each other in person. And we went that way for about 3 or 4 weeks until this past Sunday, when we all finally decided, hey, we have got to see each other. And I was greatly concerned about one of my siblings because she had voiced her concerns about her her emotional health and just the fact that she felt so empty. And sadly, she lives in the home where mother did. So there she is in that house. She can't leave and she can't see us, her family. And so we had that first get together, and we called in all the grandkids, and we had all our children and their children, and we gathered up as many of them as we could from over in Wilmington, North Carolina, and in Mobile, and we got them together, and we all ended up just talking on top of each other because none of us were any good at social media and a big gathering like that. It was brand new, but when it was all over, it felt good. We were able to talk to one another and let each other know how we were doing, how we were coping, and the fact that it was just good to see y'all. It was good to see you. So I know that is a great help. And the second thing is the daily routine. Need to just keep doing what you were doing. Don't slow down. Try your best to get out. I know Dave does a lot of riding. He still does the trails and gets out and tries to get that anxiety and energy burned off in that fashion. Squirrel, I know he's remodeling. Squirrel's remodeling an RV, so hopefully he's keeping busy. How about you, Squirrel?
Absolutely, and I'll tell you what, it's a stress reliever. Anybody, and of course, Ricky, and anybody who knows that's worked on any project. It's a stress reliever, especially when you mess up.
It gives you something different to stress about anyway. What about you, Dr. Powe? What are you doing? Especially in your field, I mean, you get to hear what everybody's going through, and you're kind of going through it too. So what are you doing to lighten your spiritual load, so to speak, your mental and workloads when you're probably going through a lot of the same things we are?
Yes. So be back here. It's my dog. He is my stress reliever.
Okay.
So I know when I go home that we're going to go on long walks together, and he loves to play fetch. And so that's what we do in the afternoons and in the evenings. And he loves to cuddle. So he is my big stress reliever, definitely.
That's awesome. That is so awesome. Everybody needs it though. And I tell you, when this thing first kicked off, I was all about, all right, it's time to reflect. It's time to start looking in to see how we can grow personally and grow as a community. But why, I tell you, every roadblock that comes up makes that reflection hard to do unless you do, we start following some of the good doctor's advice. I've been bad about not sticking to a schedule. You know what I'm saying? So if I can pick up that habit again, because before I wouldn't even think about it. I had to do it, so I did it. And now that I don't have to do it, you got to think about it. And it's turning out to be a very, very important part of my life anyway, is having a routine, a schedule.
Yes.
Well, I know
it is a big important part.
I know that all three of us on the radio side here, Dave does a morning show up in the morning at 4:00 down here, getting everything ready. Squirrel is down here in the morning doing his show. And I get down here and I'm here most all day long. There's always something to do. So that's actually a blessing to have something that is occupying both your time.
Busy work. Yeah.
It is occupying your time. It's occupying your energy. That way you sleep better at night. Because I know with me, when anxiety really starts setting in, I lay awake at night and just stare at the wall.
That's a good one, Doctor. Handle that.
Everything in the world goes through my mind, either about the previous day or what I got to do the next day, or even fears. There are fears. So
sure,
sleeping is a big one for me. So
yeah, and it can be very hard.
So what is a good sleep aid? I mean, how do you talk yourself off the window ledge, so to speak, when you're snuggled up and trying to go to sleep?
Well, there are a couple of different strategies that we recommend, definitely. The first one is actually a routine. So making sure that you're going to bed at the same time, waking up at the same time, and getting out of bed at the same time. The next one is to kind of make sure that you are in bed when you are ready to sleep, and that you are only using your bed for so that your mind is ready to relax and let go of all of those things. If you still find yourself worrying, then writing down things in a journal or just on a scratch piece of paper, this is what I have to do tomorrow and this is what I'm worried about, can kind of clear out your head and let you know that it's okay for you to go to sleep. And then if that doesn't work, deep breathing.
There you go. So like a physical manifestation, if you make a list and that kind of physicalizes your thoughts, so to speak, and you just kind of set them aside. That's neat.
Exactly.
That is neat. I love getting my learn on. That is awesome.
And if you're also having trouble, might I add, do some push-ups, do some sit-ups, exhaust your body out a little bit, get your body to relax, tire it out a little bit. And plus, you'll look good.
Yeah, look at this.
Yeah. Ricky's a stunner here. The folks on the radio can't see you, Ricky. I have to describe you. It's like a younger Brad Pitt.
That's what healthy living and a lot of sleep does for you right there, folks. That's stuff now.
We don't think much of ourselves, do we, Dr.
Again, our guest today is Dr. Cameron Powe with Child and Family Services and the Learning Center. And we've been streaming live on Facebook at B1053 and YouTube at Wiregrass Radio. And before we ease on out of here today, we've got a couple of minutes left. We'll go around the panel here and just kind of wrap things up. Dave?
I got to say, it's been a fantastic 20 minutes with you, Dr. Powe. And I'm getting a big message here. Because we're apart, it's almost as if we have to be kinder now to ourselves and to each other, and to take a minute to schedule your life so that you don't get trapped in binge watching. It's fun to do, I get it, but if you get locked in front of that TV, you're not doing stuff. You're just watching TV. And it's been enlightening. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for inviting me, and that is definitely a good message to take away.
Yes, Dr. Powe, thank you so much. It was great speaking with you also. And I think a lot of us, including myself, I think we threw our schedules out the window. I think a lot of us are sleeping, napping whenever we want now, maybe just eating a little bit different than what we were eating a little bit. But some great advice. Yeah, we should probably really tighten it up a little bit on a few different things. Keep the schedule. Keep your mind occupied. Don't let it wander, or you're gonna get in trouble. I'm telling you, the sheriff will be dropping you off at your parents' house.
Sounds like he knows from experience, doesn't it?
And that is something, Squirrel, that we didn't touch on is healthy eating. Maintaining that good nutrition can only feed the mind and the body and help you deal with those stresses. So, and with that note, remember that there's still a lot of great curbside service going on here in Dothan. And don't think you have to just eat a hamburger or a cheeseburger every day. There is some good family cooking. I'm talking some home cooking with some greens and get some good food in you, good nutrition. But want to thank you, Dr. Cameron Powe with Child and Family Services and the Learning Center. And thank you, David, for being with us, and also Squirrel. You can catch Dave with Pollard and Dave tomorrow morning, bright and early, 6 a.m. right here on Facebook Live and YouTube, and on B1053, Pollard and Dave tomorrow morning at 6. And catch Squirrel tomorrow morning, bright and early on the Rock of Dothan, Rock 100.5. Dr. Powe, thank you so much for being with us. We certainly do appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, folks, until we do it again tomorrow afternoon at 5 o'clock, this has been Wiregrass Strong, and we just urge you to stay strong, Wiregrass. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, and this too shall pass, and we just got to get back to it. So we're looking forward to that. I want to thank our guest, Dr. Cameron Powe, and remind you that tomorrow we'll do it again. It's brought to you this half hour by Knight's Wrecker Service. Big or small, they do it all. 899-3257, Ashford, Dothan, and Headland. Great folks, so do go see them. And until we see you tomorrow afternoon, we now return you to your normal programming.